Why do I need to recode variables? Well, the main reasons are to modify certain values of the variable or to group certain values into one single value. So let's think about this. To modify certain values of a variable, I'm kind of talking about here. If we had listed the races that are listed on the US Census, there's a number of them. I think there's about 10. But let's say in our data set, we only have responses to 3 of them. And maybe there's a few people in one of the other ones. We want to narrow down those options. So maybe we're going to combine all of the categories that have the fewest people in them into one other race category, and then we'll have the other main response categories as well. Another way to think of this might be if we had people responding to religious beliefs as a question and what their religious beliefs were. Maybe we wanted to combine all of the people that responded with any type of Christian belief into one category instead of having several different categories. So kind of combining down those categories into one instead of having 7 will make analysis more simplified, and it will make your descriptive table way less cumbersome and easy to read. Now, to group certain values into a single value, this is more like if we collect weights of adults and we want to classify them instead of having the actual weight value reported, we want to classify them into underweight, overweight, normal weight, and obese. So we could do that by combining the values or putting in a range of values that fall into each of those categories. Another example would be if you have the BMI values, numeric values, and you want to put that into categories of an underweight BMI, a normal BMI, an overweight BMI, and an obese BMI. That would be another example of how you would go from those numbers, and we know that the BMI categories have specific numbers attached to them. So an BMI of under 18.5 is underweight. So anyone under an 18.5 in our data set would be included in that underweight category. And then anyone with a BMI of over 30 would be included in the obese category. So that's really what we're talking about when we're recoding variables. The procedure we're going to use in SPSS to recode variables is called recode into different variables. There's another option where you can recode into the same variable, but what this does is it overwrites the original data in your data file and you can't get it back. So we're always going to use the recode into different variables function. This retains the original variable and creates a new variable that has those values that we're looking for in the first empty column of data, the data file. In order to get there, we're going to go to the transform option on the menu tab, which is next to data, so the 5th option in, and then it's the 5th option is recode into different variables is what we'll select. When we select that, we're going to get this screenshot that has the recode into different variables window. On the left-hand side, it has, again, the list of all the variables in the data set. In the middle is the input variable to the output variable. And then the very far right side is the output variable, where you can put in different information. So here I brought over the gained variable, which was the amount of weight gained during pregnancy. And in the middle, that shows up as the numeric variable, the original one. Then in the output variable on the very far right side, I've made a new name. So this is a name I'm making up for it, which I'm going to call weight underscore R. The label is recoded weight into categories is what I'm calling this variable. So then, as soon as I type those two things in, I can hit the change button, which is underneath those two boxes. When you hit the change button, your new variable name, the output variable name, will show up next to the arrow by your original variable in the middle section. From here, what we're going to do after we click the change button is go to the old and new values. So this is below that middle numeric variable to output variable dialog box. And this is old and new values. So when we click on that, we'll get up the next screen. Here is that next screen, the recode into different variables, old and new values. So on the left-hand side is a list of options for inputting the old values. On the right-hand side at the top is options for the new values. Then below that is the old to new values with the options of adding, changing, or removing, similar to the value labels that we were doing last week. And then those are the main parts here. So for this example, I'm using the range of 25 to 40 pounds is going to be the new value. So 25 to 40 pounds gained in the original data set is going to be a value of 1 in my new data set. My new, not data set, but my new variable. Why did I pick 25 to 40? So on average, the average weight gain in adult women for pregnancy is 25 to 40 pounds. So I'm putting that as the first value that I'm looking for. Now if we go to the next image, there's a new value here and where I put in that range. And once I put those two things in, the very important next step is clicking this add button next to the old to new values. If I don't click the add button, nothing happens and it won't recode what I'm telling it to recode. Next, you can see now in the old to new values portion that I have 25 through 40 is going to be coded as 1, 41 through highest, so 41 pounds through the highest value reported in the data set is going to be coded as 0. So here I'm using the range lowest through value in the old value options. And the new value is going to also be 0. So range lowest through value will be the lowest value reported in the data set through the value of 24. So anyone who reported 0 to 24 pounds weight loss will be now classified as the value 0. Because I'm going to hit the add button and then I'm going to hit continue. Again, if you don't hit continue, it's not going to do anything. And after you hit continue, it'll take you back to that original screen and you'll want to click OK on that dialog box in that first screen. When you do, you'll get the output on the next slide. The output for the recode procedure just is in the SPSS syntax language. So it's the recode gained. So we're recoding the variable gained. The values 25 through 40 are going to be the first category. The values 41 and higher are going to be 0. The lowest value through 24 is also going to be 0. And those values from that original variable will be transformed into weight underscore R. Since I added a variable label in that first dialog box, it gives me that information here as well. Now, the one thing you have to remember is that you will now need to go into your data set and go to your variable view and put in values, what 1 means and what 0 means in this new variable, weight underscore R. So what it does mean is 1 means a normal amount of weight gain during the pregnancy, and 0 is just an abnormal amount, so not the normal or the average amount. So over 41 pounds is above average, and under 25 pounds is below average. So I combine them into one new category that is not the normal or not average weight gain. So you'll want to remember to put that into your data set. Or you're going to forget which one you coded as 1 and which one you coded as 0 in the future. How do you check the recoded variable with your original? So this is how you tell if your recode was done correctly or not. So again, why we use the recode into different variable tab option is so that we can run this procedure to make sure SPSS did what we thought it was going to do. To get to this dialog box, we're going to go to Analyze, which is the same place we went for the descriptive statistics and frequencies. We're also going to click on descriptive statistics. And then in the next pop-out menu, instead of clicking frequencies or descriptive statistics, we're going to go down further in the list and click crosstabs. So this is where we're going to check our variable. So in the top box, in this screen you see on the left, we have a list of all of the variables again in the data set. Then there's a box for the rows and there's a box for the columns, as well as some other things that we're not going to worry about right now. Those are the 2 things we're going to use. So in the rows, we want to put the original variable that we had. So that would be the weight gained during pregnancy variable. In the columns, then, we want to put our newly created variable, the recoded variable. After we have those selected there, we'll click OK. When we click OK, we'll get an output with a big long table on it, and I'm going to show you on the next slide how to interpret that table. So here's an abbreviated version of what the table in SPSS looks like. Its title is Weight Gain During Pregnancy, pounds, by, or the multiplication sign, recoded weight into categories. And then it has cross tabulation, because that's the name of the procedure. Then we have a bunch of different table coding type information. On the very far left is weight gain during pregnancy in pounds. That's that column on the left that has the values from our original variable. So 0, 4, 7, 9, 10, and so on are our original values in the weight gain during pregnancy variable. On the top, it says recoded weight into categories, and then we have 2 columns underneath that title, abnormal weight gain and normal weight gain. And then on the very far right is the total number of cases. So that one's not super important, but what we want to look at are those 2 rows where it has abnormal weight gain and normal weight gain. So for each row, we want to go down and say, okay, the value for our original variable, weight gained during pregnancy, 0. Is that a normal? Is that between 25 and 40? Or is that abnormal? Well, it's abnormal. And now we see in this abnormal weight gained area that